Welcome to the True Strength Podcast with your hosts, Jeremiah and Tiffany Head. All right, guys, welcome to the True Strength Podcast. We're your hosts, Jeremiah and Tiffany Head. And welcome to episode 1. We're going to get into a little bit about who we are and why we're here.
Yeah, we only know one way to start something, and that is just to jump in. We never know what we're doing. We never have a big master plan, which is kind of my worst nightmare, but it works really well for the way we do things. This is how we do business. This is how we started a family. Like, we just jump in. So that's how we're going to start a podcast. We're just going to jump in.
Yep. Yeah, we never really know what we're doing. So that's why we're here. All right, guys, so we're just start a little bit about who we are. So first off, we have been married for 25 years this past December. So we're coming up on year 26, and we've been together for 30. So
like forever.
For a long time. Yeah. So that's us. And then
we have 3 kids. All of our kids are in college. They're all in their 20s. They're busy doing their life things and following their own paths and going on their own journeys. And we love them. They still live with us most of the time. Big part of our life and what we do is family stuff.
Yeah. So a little bit about, we're going to go kind of today, just like a 30,000 foot elevation of a little bit about us. We'll dive in to more about our stories, I think, in the next months, but real quick, kind of just who we are, my past experience as far as like...
You go first. Tell us about you.
All right. So since this is, one of the things we want to talk about is fitness, coaching, competing. So that's what we're going to talk about. Played sports my whole life, since all I can remember, since I was 5 years old, all the way through elementary, middle school, high school. I played every sport that I could play. Basketball, baseball, volleyball, played football for a tiny little time. Went into college. I played a little bit of basketball and volleyball in college. Got into coaching right away. Right out of high school, started coaching immediately. And then just kept kind of playing sports, kept being athletic, competing in whatever thing I could find, whether it was church league basketball or running in a half marathon, and also simultaneously coaching for a long time. I found CrossFit in 2007. We'll talk about that whole story probably someday. So a long time ago. So I've been doing CrossFit for 18 years and fell in love with it. Loved what it did for me athletically. Tried to get people to do it. Eventually did get people to do it with me. And then I've been coaching since 1994, nonstop. It only took maybe 1 or 2 years off in the middle there of not coaching something. So
fun fact, Jeremiah was my coach when I was in high school. We've been together ever since.
Yeah. But we weren't officially together until the season was over.
That's true. It was all legal and just, it was good. Yeah. So, I grew up also playing sports a little bit. Like, I was a bit of a high school athlete, but, really, I enjoyed being part of a team, and I was athletic enough, and I played at a small school. We actually met in high school. Yep. We both went to a small Christian school here in Redlands, in the city where we grew up. And so I played sports there, but for me, it was a lot about just being with people and having fun. I've always deeply valued community and found that in sports. After high school, though, I just went on to college, and soon after college, we got married, or kind of during college, actually got married. And pretty soon after college, I started having kids. Like I said, we have 3. They all came really close together. We had babies. We had 3 kids in car seats all at the same time, 3 kids in diapers at the same time. And for me, that part of my life, I really wasn't very healthy or physically fit at all. In fact, I started having quite a lot of issues, just not taking care of myself and putting myself on the back burner like a lot of moms do as we're raising our kids. And it led to a lot of really big health concerns for me. And I had a couple of really scary moments where I really was on the verge of things going really, really bad. And at the end of one of those times when I was in the hospital, I had kind of a heart check and a heart change, and I decided that it was time for me to get my health back in order. We had 3 toddlers at the time, and I was really close to dying. And so it was really scary. And it was while I was doing all of that, that's when Jeremiah had found CrossFit. He was doing CrossFit in our house. He loved it. He was so passionate about it. And it was so scary to me, the idea of CrossFit. I told him I would never do CrossFit, never, ever, ever would I do this crazy thing that he was doing out in our garage. But at this place, I was over 300 pounds and just really in a bad place. And I decided that it was time for me to get my health back in order. And together we decided like the best course of action would be, let's just open a CrossFit gym. And that's what we did. It was in that place for me, being as unhealthy as I was, CrossFit came to me at a time when I needed it the most, and it absolutely changed my life. It gave me my health back. It gave me my life back. And it has been the most like amazing transformational catalyst of anything that I've ever been a part of. And so that's kind of led us to this place in our journey. So the biggest thing for me is I've lost 145 pounds doing CrossFit. And like I said, it has changed my life. It's become what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember thinking I was going to do when she was going to die with 3 babies. So I was very afraid. So we're very thankful for CrossFit and all it's done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and kind of going back on that, like when I first found CrossFit, I've always wanted to own a business. I first wanted to own a surf shop, but being 60 miles from the ocean makes it super challenging. So I wanted to open a gym. I wanted to run a gym probably my whole life. And first time I found CrossFit, I wanted to open one, but there were none in Redlands in 2007. There was none. And when the first one opened, they were charging money that I couldn't afford. So it was.
We didn't even think people.
I didn't even understand how someone would pay that much money.
Like who has that much money? We were certainly
especially
not
in 2008 or 9. I was like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So when we did decide to open it, one of the things was like, we have to open it for people like us that could afford it. Kind of a different thing that we wanted to do. So in 2011, we opened our first gym. It was not a CrossFit. We started by training the athletes I was coaching in volleyball.
Yeah.
We opened a gym for that specifically. I was using CrossFit. At the time, it was CrossFit football, kind of this training methodology of training athletes using CrossFit. Super successful. We had tremendous success with it. But what happened was, slowly but surely, the kids didn't want to do it so much, and the parents did.
Yeah.
And so as the parents started to show more and more interest, we shifted from more athletes to more parents. And that kind of started to steamroll and roll upon itself. And that's when you and some of your friends popped in and started training in the gym. And then we actually became an affiliate the next year in 2012. So,
we started in a tiny little 1,400 square foot warehouse. It's actually right next door to where our gym is now. Same building, just we're one door over now. Or two doors over now. From there. Yeah. We started in a 1,400 square foot. Very quickly we outgrew that space. CrossFit is when CrossFit was booming, and everybody wanted to do CrossFit. And so we outgrew that space, moved into a 6,700 square foot space within a year, and just started growing a community and growing a business and meeting people and learning. Again, we just dove in. So just learning what it meant to be business owners, to be CrossFit gym owners. We were super hands-on at first and we were all in. It was amazing. Yeah.
Along the way, we were just figuring it out. I still had a full-time job. Tiffany had a full-time job. I was a teacher. She was a preschool director. We also had 3 kids. We also ran a volleyball club for a while in the middle of all that. So we had a lot going on. But CrossFit was just still our passion. It was my passion. I loved it more than anything else. So we pursued that, I think, with the most fervor, as far as brought us the most joy. Yeah,
it was absolutely something that it brought us together. Yeah. It was amazing for our marriage. It was helping me get healthier, but also we were just a team. Yeah. We were running businesses together, doing this thing together. And then in 2013, we actually, us and Jeremiah's brother and our sister-in-law, we came together and we had this idea to start another business in the fitness industry called ROMWAD. And that was truly just birthed out of our gym and what we were seeing in our CrossFit space. About 3 doors down from our CrossFit gym, Jeremiah's brother, Daniel, and his wife, Shauna, they had a yoga studio, and Ramwad was like a convergence of those worlds. Yeah. We literally put yoga and CrossFit together into this thing. You want to talk more about that and kind of...
Yeah. So we just saw a need at the time, way back then in CrossFit, and there wasn't a lot of people stretching. There wasn't a lot of thought into that part of fitness. It was just, CrossFit in those days was lift heavy, go fast,
and never recover. And obviously that was not working out for a lot of people, especially me. I was already almost 40. Yeah.
And my brother was like, I think we can do this thing, and we'll use yin martial arts, stretching. And we're like, okay, let's do this. And we just saw it as an opportunity, I think, to go full time into fitness. Like, as this idea for a company was starting, our big dream, our hope was that this would be something that could help supplement Jeremiah's teaching salary, so that he and I could both be full time at the gym. Yeah. And that was like our dream, our biggest dream was that he could just not have to have 2 other jobs in addition to us running the gym. And so we went all in on the starting of that company. We really poured our hearts and souls into it with our family. And it was amazing. And it started to grow. Yeah. So it grew fantastically. And we have other business partners that popped in and
who were, absolutely
amazing. And we had people pop in that took over social media and all these different aspects of it that we had going back to the thing that we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea.
We don't know how to run businesses.
But God placed the right people in our path to do something with it that we were never capable of doing. So so simultaneous. So it did get to that place where I could leave my teaching job and work in the fitness, run our gym full time, work with Ramwad full time, kind of just fitness all the time. And then that also corresponded with, because of that, the ability for me to obviously spend more time in the gym allowed me to start training more. I turned 40 in that era, that range. And at that time I was like, well, I'll try to compete a little bit. Maybe. I don't have any idea. I just, and so I started pursuing the dream of competing at the CrossFit Games at the exact same moment. And with the freed up a little more time. So that also started in the exact same time, this dream of competing at the CrossFit Games as a master.
Yeah.
As an old guy.
We were already old way back in that time.
Yeah.
And our kids, our family at that time too, was we were in a transition time in so many areas, business. We changed our careers. We became fitness people. Our kids were also going into high school. And as a coach, you had always been a coach, and it had always been Jeremiah's dream that he would coach our kids in high school. Our kids actually went to the same small Christian school that we met at and that we graduated from. And so we had this opportunity for us as a family to really spend a lot of amazing quality time in those high school years for our kids. And so, we had a growing business. We had the gym that was really doing well. And we had a lot of coaches that had come up out of our community and turned into coaches. And we had a great coaching staff, and things were going really well. So as our kids were going into high school and Maya was going into competing, we just started to pull a little bit more away, not pull away from the gym. We were still in the gym, but we definitely were spending less time at the gym because we had all these other things that were going. And so it started to change things a little bit in the gym. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about what kind of happened in that transition time for us.
Yeah. Also, just side note, she's going to call me Maya.
Oh, did I do that already?
You did already. So we were gonna say that. So my name is Jeremiah, but everyone that knows me calls me Maya. Dating all the way back to second or third, fourth grade, fifth grade, somewhere in there. That became my nickname. So
trying to be so professional.
Maya is my formal name is Jeremiah. So that just to make sure
over,
the game is over.
I'm just gonna call you Maya because it's so hard.
So it's gonna be
Sorry.
So we, that was my dream. I also had made a plan in my mind that, by the time my oldest daughter got to high school, I couldn't do what I was doing by being a full-time teacher, coaching in volleyball, whether it was high school, college, or club, running a club and the gym. It was just too much. And I had already missed a lot with our kids. I had spent many hours coaching and traveling.
Other people's kids
the whole time for many years. And I wasn't going to allow it to happen. And then again, just timing God's work, allowed that to happen. And then happened to be at our old high school, my buddy that I grew up with is the principal there. They needed a volleyball coach.
Yeah.
The year that our daughter went to high school, I was like, absolutely, I'll do it. This was my dream. His daughter's on the team. So I started coaching volleyball and basketball for the girls there. And so, that takes a lot of time too, that, coaching high school sports for an entire year round when you're doing all the sports. So, we just spent less time in the gym, which we pulled out. And so, so when you hand over the gym to people that are great people, they were great coaches. They were all coached, great under me. And, but we got out of it a little bit, meaning the culture, we no longer had as much say in what was going on or the way things were running, just because we were not there as much. But really, I think what happened was, as ROM1 got successful and even in my competition, I found some success relatively quickly, competing in big competitions and having relative success. The biggest thing I think that happened was my perception especially started to shift from, wow, wouldn't it be super fun, go back to 2007 me, if people would come do CrossFit with me because it's so awesome and I wish people would do this with me, to now we start having success according to the world, especially successful business, successful gym, successful family, successful competitive athlete. These are all like, identities that we were receiving and creating in our mind. And so I know I started to then start viewing everyone now as like a competitor, an enemy, or we had to be careful, right? That was like what do they want from us now?
We felt this, I would say both of us, I think it came more natural to you, but
yes, that was my natural instinct.
Your natural instinct is to be protective and to self-protect. We started to, as we not pulled away, like we weren't pulling away to like in any negative way, but we were spending less time. And when there's distance or when there's even just like less time invested in a relationship, you just start to question the relationships. And we did start to, in our minds, begin to think like, we need to self-protect. Yeah. Like it very much became then one of our, like we thought this was a positive thing at the time. We would say all the time, well, it's us versus the world. Yeah. Like it's you and I, we have each other's backs and that's all we need. We don't need anybody else because we're good. Like we have this and we had a very us versus the world mentality and it worked really well for us. Actually, we became very successful, like you said, according to the world standards, by being us versus the world, because we are a good team. Mm-hmm. We work well together and we pick each other's weaknesses up and we pick up where each other leaves off. But us versus the world is not a great business model. No, it's a horrible business model. Yeah. It's really bad. Yeah, it's horrible. Business model. It's not great for friendships either. No, yeah. So kind of in the middle of all that, right? So people that were our best coaches, our best friends, became a struggle between us and them. And I would have told you at the time that it was their fault. And, now reflecting back, it was definitely my fault. And just the way I was perceiving things was not reality. It was just like we started to become so obsessed with protecting the things that we have or the things that we think that we created or the success that we're having, or me as a competitive athlete. I've been ingrained since I was, as far as I can remember, of like, the moment I used to feel people come against me, then my number one goal is to like ruin them. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I've seen this many times. Someone used to say a word to me on a basketball court. My goal was then to make their day, to have the worst day ever. Like, I'm fine until you talk to me, and then I'm gonna make your day horrible. I'm gonna just do everything I can to destroy you. Yeah, shut the other person down is like the mentality. It's my favorite thing to do. Oh, you thought you were gonna say something to me? Yeah. I will prove to you and your family and everyone that's ever met you that I am better than you. Yes. And that's just my mentality, and that's how I was kind of like, it's just the mentality I took on, and it's like a self-protection again. Like, I'll prove you wrong. I'll outwork you. I will prove you
wrong. And I take that on with everything. So of course in our gym as a competitor, my own perception was that we'll talk about, I guess, way deeper later.
Yeah, we're going to do like so much about your story.
So anyways, it was bad.
That'll be the next episode.
Just quick. It was a horrible way to live. So much so that, going through those years now, getting closer to 2019, 2018, 2019, the gym is doing great. Yeah. CrossFit is doing great. We're in the heyday of CrossFit. There's 10 CrossFit gyms in our city.
Literally 10 in Redlands.
10 in Redlands. And our business is doing great. Our kids are doing great. We're doing great. But as far as like inside the gym, I got to a place, and we'll talk about more, but like just to kind of wrap it up, where any new person that walked in the door, like a brand new client, my immediate first thought was, why are you coming here? Like, what are you here to take from me? That's how bad I got. That's how toxic I got. And so I stopped coaching all classes. I stopped communicating almost with everyone in the gym. And I just kind of trained in a corner by myself.
Yeah.
Because I was now isolated and I was just convinced that everyone wanted to come against me. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no other way.
My job at the end there, when we were at the end of the gym, my job was literally a shield. Mm-hmm. Like, I just made it my job to keep everyone away from him. Like literally to the point where sometimes we would put cones in the gym. Like, don't cross these cones. That's where Maya will be. And then everyone else can be other places, but don't even look at the cones. Don't even look at the cones. And again, it's a really, really bad business model. It's also, so bad.
Never tell me good job. That was the thing. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, just
stay away.
It was really bad. You were extremely guarded.
Yeah.
And my personality is not that way at all. I am a people pleaser and I want everyone to be happy all the time. And so I found myself in the most horrible place where I was always trying to make sure that Maya was happy so that like he wasn't exploding at anyone in the gym. Like in our marriage, there was never any kind of issues. Like this was literally just like a Maya and the world issue. Like I said, we were always us versus the world. So we were always really good. It was actually, we felt pretty strong and in a good place in our marriage. But I literally had to shield the rest of the world from him. I had to be a guard in between him and other people. And I took on all of the responsibility of the gym because literally he couldn't be trusted to not just tell someone the full truth that he had in his heart toward them. Yeah. And it was really awful. Yeah. It was really awful. And so that leads, like, that is what was going on around like 2019. It was to this place where at the end of 2019, we had actually already started building. We have a house in our city that's 120 years old and it didn't have a garage. And Maya was so desperate to get away from the gym and to get out of this place where he felt like people were coming against him all the time that we had started the process of building a garage, just a small garage in the back of our backyard so that he would have a place, like literally a fortress of solitude. Mm-hmm. Like literally he needed a place to be alone. And because he still had this thing, like he's still chasing this passion, this desire of his to go to the CrossFit Games. Like he has had this goal that he's been writing on our goal chalkboard since I don't even know what year, forever. 2014, maybe you started writing that goal?
14 or 15, yeah.
Yeah, like I will go to the CrossFit Games, and he would get closer and closer every year. By 2019, he was still wanted to go to the CrossFit Games. He's still competing at the highest possible level for his age, just missing it by the smallest margins every year. And so he needed a place to train and be alone. Yeah. And then that leads us to 2020 when we all know what happened in 2020 and the world shut down. And we live in Southern California. And that was a really terrible place to be a gym owner in March of 2020. But you did not take a global pandemic as a bad thing. No. Right?
No, I was like, man, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, I was social distancing before it was cool. I was all into it. I had already been isolating, and the gym in our backyard was already being built. It was already like in process. So I was like, this is perfect timing. Yeah. We're going to close our gym. I knew we were not going to reopen.
He literally told me whatever that day was, March 13th. We actually were in the middle of the Masters online qualifier, in which
horrible shoulder injury.
Yeah, you finished 11th that year. They were taking 10 to the CrossFit Games. Yeah. So that was its own kind of gut wrenching situation. But
Yeah.
it was that weekend. We were doing the qualifier, and between workouts, we were saying like, I think we have to close our gym, and we're like, for sure that's not going to happen. But you told me that day, you know that we're never going to open this gym again. And I was like, absolutely not. We will be open in 2 weeks. What are you talking about? You're out of your mind. But he knew, like, and I think in his heart he had decided like this was the perfect out. This was the way out the door. This was going to get him away from everything that he thought was causing his life to be miserable. And it was going to free him up to focus on himself and our family and just like live in the fortress of solitude and be happy for the rest of his life.
100%. Yeah. So we were super stoked. I was ready.
I was not.
She was not, but I was like, this is the best. We don't have to deal with anybody ever again. Like the gym's closing. Our lease was kind of close to an end for the building. So we worked that out and so we closed and the gym went up in my backyard and I kept just doing what I do. And you know, she worked out with me in the backyard. A couple of other people would come every now and then, but not for that first year. Pretty much it was just you and me. No one else really showed up.
Yeah. We didn't really invite anybody.
No, we didn't really invite anybody. No.
So like I just we'll get to my story eventually someday, but like when our gym closed down, it was freedom for Maya and it was a nightmare for me. It was taking everything that I knew, everything that had made me everything that I would have said is who I am. I was successful in CrossFit. I was successful in weight loss. I was successful in building community. I was successful in all these things. And I thought that those are the things that defined who I was. And for those things to be taken away in the blink of an eye, for me, it was devastating. Yeah. It was devastating. So I was not okay.
No.
I was relieved that you were good. Yeah. But I went into a lot of anxiety and a lot of just self-searching because everything that made me was gone in a heartbeat. And that was really hard. And then it was hard to be a mom through all that. And our daughter was a senior in high, all the things. But like, it was freedom for you. Yeah. It was really, really emotional and very hard for me to walk through that. But you kept training. In fact, you picked up your training at a level that because you were so focused, you had nothing holding you back anymore. Like according to you, like in your own mind, you had nothing holding you back. You had no one coming after you. But what you did have was you still wanted to prove everybody wrong, and you wanted to prove that you could go to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was my fuel always. That was my number one fuel source was anger and proving people wrong. So even in that moment, I was like, watch, the pandemic is going to happen and everyone's going to not be able to work out and I'm going to train harder.
Yeah.
And watch, you know, my mind was like, watch me do this. You know, and then I did get to go. Fortunately, 2021, everything was kind of back open as far as CrossFit when, you know, we weren't open, but the CrossFit Games were back on.
Yeah.
So we could do the open in our garage and, you know, had a really good year and was able to go to the CrossFit Games and do that and experience that. And, and that was kind of, that puts us in, you know, middle of 2021, you know, made it to the CrossFit Games and did well and loved it, enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience. It was great for our family. Yeah. We had, it was super successful. And it was like this thing that Maya had been building toward for all of these years, like seriously going on a decade, maybe not quite, but like
at least 7 years.
Yeah. That they had been your singular focus and your number one thing. And it was like, you got to the end of that. And it had been about a year since the gym had closed. And so like while I had gone through a lot of things and emotions and really not sure if I was ever going to get off of my bathroom floor of all the crying and anxiety that I was walking through. But at the end of the CrossFit Games, by the time you went to the CrossFit Games, I was starting to feel a little bit more secure and a little bit more like myself again. And I was my emotions were coming back together. And like you said, the world was kind of coming back together. And we got to this place at the end of 2021 and both of us were like, what now? Like, now what?
No, 100%. Because I was kind of like, well, in my mind, I just proved everybody wrong. So now who do I have to prove wrong now? What else can I do? You know, like, do I try to go again? There's less meaning behind it when you've already done it. So we didn't have a gym. I was, you know, our daughter's sports teams were revving back up. So I was still doing that, but that was just what I did. That wasn't like I love doing it.
Yeah,
I
that
love
was like
the
just
girls.
like time that we spent with our family, and that was just
all the girls I coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like all like our daughters. Like, but that so I was gonna do that no matter what. But yeah, so what else do we do? So yeah, I think we just kind of started this like, now what kind of a thing, and
I as kind of at the end of 2021 into the beginning of 2022, I feel like I can't even explain it. Like, I'm not sure that I could put it into words or put an exact date on it, but like God got a hold of us.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. It's like, I felt like he was like, hey,
yeah,
hey guys, I have something.
Yeah.
I have something for you if you'll turn around and look at me. Like, yeah. And it was it started out very individual. Like, I felt this like calling and like this, just something stirring in me, and you felt something stirring in you. And I'm telling you, like, I would say, like, we grew up in church. Yeah. We have been, I would say, we would both say, like, we've been Christians our whole lives. We 100% went to Christian school, kindergarten through 12th grade, both of us. We went to a Christian college for a while. We ended up graduating from just University of Redlands right here in our town. That was the only non-Christian school. We'd always been in church. We knew Jesus. Yeah. Like, we knew about God. I would say we prayed. We didn't like, but like, we're Christians.
Yeah.
And yet it was like, we had never like seen God or heard from him in a way, like, and he just hit us both at the same time. Like he grabbed us.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, you started like doing things. Well, what I was going to say is, like, all of a sudden, like, you of all people, like you, the guy who literally hates everyone and everything and has this like chip on your shoulder and this thing to prove. And you were like, I think God's talking to me. And I was like, who are you?
Well, I didn't think he was talking yet, but I didn't.
Yeah. See, so
I didn't really know.
What did you experience that? Like, what was going on? Like,
yeah, I don't know. So I think that we started listening to other pastors and things with YouTube and whatnot, and started to be experiencing.
Yeah, that's true. Like during COVID and like when things were different.
Yeah,
we
so
did kind of.
And I started hearing different ways of thinking about the Bible and about God and about like just different ways, kind of.
Yeah, just from different voices, different perspectives.
Brand new to what I had been hearing for 47 years of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just started reading as many books as I could. I read from pastors that I thought were intriguing. And after reading one book in particular, again, we'll probably dive more into this. I just had this sense of God. Now I know God was saying it, but I didn't understand at the time. I had this sense of like, you're going to do it again and it's going to be different. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. And I was really scared to tell her because I was the one that shut the gym down, for the most part. It was me. It wasn't COVID. I mean, it was, but it was
burned.
Me.
We say all the time, like, he burned it down.
Yeah,
like he burned the gym down.
Yeah, like I wasn't going to open up even if the California state said we could. I was like, actually, no, it's everywhere. We should probably not open up again.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. I couldn't put it into words other than I had this sense of, it was the first time I realized it was my mistake, what had happened, that it was me. No one in the gym had done anything to me. It had been all me and all my perception and all my reality, which was untrue. And then I had allowed that to happen. And so I was like, oh no.
I burned it down.
I did it.
Yeah.
And then I realized that was like, but also at the same time, there was like this redemptive quality of like, you're going to do it again though, but you're going to do it differently now that you understand. And so I didn't really know what that meant, but I think I told you.
Yeah, you told me around January of 2022.
I think that we might have to reopen or do it again. And you were like,
absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. I will never open a gym again. Everything about that, like, I loved the gym. Yeah. The gym gave me back my life. The gym gave me purpose. I thought it's what gave me identity. And then the loss of my identity and the loss of that and the having to be the shield and the having to protect you, like all of that was like traumatic for me. It was so hard. And then the walking through the shutting down and the anxiety that it gave me and just the complete shaking of my world apart. I was like, you will never catch me signing up for that again. I will never do that again. it's too much and I'm too afraid. Like I'm too afraid. I don't want to get close to people and then have that to get lost, have that lost again. I cannot walk through that again. It was too much. It was too hard. So I said, absolutely not.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I get that. I was cool with that. Like I wasn't going to push because I didn't quite understand even what I was thinking or feeling at the time. So then I think we just kind of like,
but also like you said, but I felt that God was calling us into something. Yeah. Like I felt that same stirring. We both just felt this stirring that something was coming and that we needed to do something.
So I think the next course was like, well, then maybe we're just going to be a part of something else.
Yeah. That way
that was like the hope, I think, in my heart.
If we're not the owners, if we're not the ones in charge, then things can't go the way they went before. And it won't, we can just join. There's other people that are doing amazing things in fitness and with their faith. And because we were feeling very called to like, we want to bring the kingdom into the fitness industry. And there are amazing organizations and people that are doing that. So like, let's just tie in with those people because they're already doing it and that'll be so much easier.
Yeah. And so I think that was our next thought. And
and what was crazy is that like all these doors would be open to us. Like we went to an amazing camp and like, it was amazing. But at the end of the camp experience, we were like we just both had this knowing that like, that was amazing, but that is not the right door for us to walk into. And then just different meetings with different people in different organizations. And at the end of all of them, we were like, that is amazing what they're doing. We are like, it's awesome. And yet we both knew that clearly wasn't the thing that God was calling us to.
Yeah. I think the final one was I had a phone call with somebody that's doing, again, amazing things. And I was super excited. I was like, oh, this really is the thing. Be it. Like this would be awesome. And had a good phone call. And then I hung that phone up and I texted you immediately and said like, we're doing our own thing. That's all I know. I felt God was like, this isn't it. I just want. So it was kind of like God was like, all these things that are happening. Yeah, you're not doing any of those. Like none of that's for you. Like you guys still have to do the thing that you guys have to do.
Yeah.
Not I have to, but like this is what I have for you.
This is the thing that I have for you. I'm inviting you into something that is different. And
and we knew so much that we were going to do something that we had a meeting in our living room before, like in that summer. And everyone that actually still talked to us, which is not a lot of people, but it was enough to fill our living room. We were like, hey guys, like we're doing something again, but we don't have any idea what it is.
We think we know it'll have something to do with CrossFit
we don't know
because we're CrossFitters, and we know it will have something to do with God because he's literally like grabbed a hold of us and shaking us and telling us like you're going to do something. So we knew it was going to be CrossFit and God. And we were like, so do you guys want to do it with us? And they're like, but what are you doing?
Yeah,
like, we don't know.
So and we kind of even went super hard the other direction. We're like, well, it's just going to be only faith-based. It's going to be like a Christian thing only, right? We kind of went that hard. In the other, and now that our other gym, I would say our other gym was not. It was like, there's like Christians who own businesses, and that would have been our old gym. It was still really healthy.
Were Christians
as far as like the music.
We had good morals,
and
it was a positive environment.
We didn't really play horrible music. And we tried to have like a positive.
We had integrity. We didn't steal from people.
Yeah, we tried really hard.
We were Christians. We used Christian values in our gym.
But it wasn't like
we became toxic people. But
I was super toxic.
But
outside of that, it was really awesome.
It was not a place where we intended to bring Jesus into people's lives in any way. We were just not be horrible. That was kind of like the model. Like just don't be as horrible as some places. But and so we were gonna go the other direction so far. We were like, maybe we'll just go like church fitness. We literally said like, what if we just had a church with assault bikes?
Yeah, like that was like our motto.
Like we'll just do that. We'll just start a church and then we'll do assault bikes together.
And so that was our thoughts, and we were like watching terrible church.
I don't want to go to that church.
No. And then so along the road, God was like, "Are you like that dumb? Like what did I say? Like go out into the world and make disciples." So we're like, "Oh, man, that makes way more sense that we wouldn't just do a little secret club of Christian CrossFitters." So we got rid of that idea because that was a horrible idea, and God didn't think it was too funny. That's a dumb idea. You're dumb.
I don't think he says we're dumb.
I think he told me.
No, I just think he gave us.
He was like, "Are you serious?"
He was like, "No, I have more.
Have you read what I said?"
Stop. Yeah.
So, anyways, So that kind of puts us into like we're in, 22. And then by the end of 22, a lot of other things start happening. God really starts like revealing himself to us, I think, in a way that we didn't even know was possible.
Yeah.
Which we'll go deep into, I think, throughout our podcast, like later in my thing. And that was like a switch.
He just started making it really clear that like we really could do a gym again and we really could do it differently. It could be something different and it could dramatically impact other people's lives.
Yeah.
And
it was going to be completely different, and we didn't even know what that meant necessarily. We didn't know if anyone would come because we were going to try and do a few things differently.
Yeah.
Still do CrossFit.
100%.
Like, at a core, I still love CrossFit, like old school, nothing different. Like we're still going to push and do all the fun stuff, but we're going to try to get rid of all of the ties to values, to leaderboards and outcomes, and just have fun together, really, and see what happens. And there's a lot more depth to it, but
make the entire focus community, which CrossFit is intrinsically it is a community. That's the core of CrossFit, but we thought that we could take it even like 20 steps further, and to the point where truly we value community over absolutely any other thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that our members would agree that community is first, fitness is second. But anyways, we both came to the clear understanding. We felt unified and clear that God was calling us to reopen a CrossFit gym. And it is something that the two of us would have said we would never do in a billion years. Yeah. And here we are. Here we are.
Yeah. So we did. So about a year later, then we really went into it and started searching and finding another location and thought about a different name. We were going to rename it differently. It was not going to be Paracleo CrossFit. It was going to be something else. And again, at this point now, God's just like talking to us, and he's like, nope, you're actually going to use the same name because you didn't know what it meant before, and now you do. And you're actually going to open up your gym right next to your old gym. So
we are recording this in the lobby of our gym.
We can see our
we can see the front door
right
of our last gym. Like we literally, God put us as close as humanly possible to everything that we thought we would never do again.
So same location, same name,
but completely different hearts.
Different.
We are different human beings than we were. By the grace of God. Like he really, like in that time when he got a hold of us, he really got a hold of our hearts, and really has put this passion in us to impact other people's lives and to grow the kingdom through CrossFit, through fitness, through competing. It's like he took everything that we love and everything that we enjoy, this CrossFit world, and he brought it back full circle, and we're doing everything as different as humanly possible in this space.
Yeah. So that was in October. We officially opened in 2023. Obviously it takes a long time to actually open a gym again and go through all those hoops. Took a long time to actually get it off and running, and we didn't even know if we knew one person. We actually knew that one person would come in. We had one person that we were convinced.
She was so hardcore.
She was hardcore. The last year in our old gym, she had started showing up 2 or 3 days a week. And so we're like, well, we've got one member.
Yeah.
So
for sure, Angela will sign up.
Angela's definitely showing up. And other than that,
it'll be us and Angela and maybe some other people. Maybe we can convince some other people to come.
Yeah, people just started rolling in.
Yeah. So we're 2 years in. We're coming up on 2 years into Paracleo CrossFit being reopened. Mm-hmm. Into just learning how to do things differently. And loving it, truly loving it. And that is what is bringing us to like, why are we starting a podcast?
Yeah. So I think our belief is we've been through a lot in the last 10 years or, longer now with CrossFit, 12, 13 years at this point. And even beyond that, 30 years plus now of coaching and competing and being in the world of fitness and sport. We've seen a lot. I've participated, there's so much that we've gone through in all of those realms, in the way the world views things and the way that we view them now. And just like all this like stuff. And now we're the old people.
We are so old.
We're the old ones now. And, And so we think this is just the next, God's put this on our hearts to like, hey, let's talk about it. Like, share what you've learned and maybe help others see things differently and change the way that you think about maybe some of the things that have been ingrained in the fitness community, in the athletic community, in the competitive community that lead to death, lead to a isolation, lead to where I was at, where you're just self-protecting all the time and you're not doing what you're meant to do. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing is the transformation that both of us have undergone, that is our hope. Like that is our desire, is that people in any area that you want to see transformation or would like to have hope again, or that the principles and the things that we learned and that people have spoken over us, and the pastors and the people that we have just grown under, the ways that it has changed our life, we want it to change other people's life, because like we know that this is what we were created for. Like we are meant to be in community with people and to impact other people. And we do that through CrossFit. We could do that through, wherever we go, we're meant to do that. CrossFit is just the thing that God has put in our lives, and that's the avenue through which we have the most ability to help other people and to work in other people's lives. But we just know that everyone has that same call and everybody has that purpose. And if you're like we were, and in the solitude and in the isolation, and it's not where we're meant to be, and we want everyone to experience that freedom and that transformation and that power that happens when you stand up in your true identity that God designed you and put in you to do the thing that you were created for. And so, that's why we're here. Like, that's why we're starting a podcast. That's why we're at the gym. Like, that's what we're here for.
And we know, like, the fitness industry is a broken space.
Yeah.
I go to a 24-hour fitness and swim, and it's like zombie land there. And it's like, and then even in CrossFit, there's just a lot of brokenness in just the way that it's been, taught, or just our perception of what being an athlete is, or what all these things are. There's a lot of lies around those, and a lot of identities, and just a lot of things that we are, one of my passions is like, hey, let's rethink all of this, because it's not healthy, and it's not going to get you. It won't get you where you want to go. And even if you get there, it's empty. It's empty at the top, And so you hear that a lot with professional athletes, like it's empty at the top. And so our goal is to help some of those people to realize that there's another way to even think about all of it and still compete and still pursue the passion and the fire that's in your belly, and not walk away because you're a Christian. And those are some things I think that we'll address as well, that I believe are true.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we are at a place where we can wrap this up for today. Yeah. That's who we are. That's why we're here. Next week, I think I'm going to be interviewing you, and we are going to really dive into Jeremiah's story and just everything that went on, and what led from him being the most angry and isolated person I've ever known into someone who is sitting behind a microphone and standing in front of gyms, and he stands in front of churches now, and it's the craziest transformation. We'll go through the whole thing. It's the most unbelievable transformation I've ever witnessed in my life, and I got to walk through it with him, and I got to see it firsthand. And so I'll be interviewing Jeremiah next week, and we're just gonna go from there. We are so excited to get this rolling. Hope that you will grow with us as we learn how to do a podcast. We sure don't know what we're doing, but we're excited to be here.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
We'll see you next time.
Week. Thank you.